In a math class, your teacher might ask you, what is 1 plus 2 plus 3? And the answer is always going to be 6. And in a writing class, your teacher might say, subject plus opinion plus reasons equals a thesis. So it's kind of like math. We can flip this, and your math teacher might say, write an equation that equals 6. And so you might say 1 plus 2 plus 3, or 2 plus 1 plus 3, or 3 plus 3, or 2 plus 2 plus 2, or 4 plus 2, or 30 divided by 5, or 7 plus negative 1, and they would all equal 6. The same thing is really true in your writing class. If your teacher says write a thesis, you might do subject, opinion, reason. You might do reason, subject, opinion. You might do other things. And in some cases, it might be the totality of your introductory paragraph that equals your thesis. But what you don't want is for your thesis to just be a factual statement. When we're in the 7th grade encounters and we're researching important people, these are people whose names go with whatever they're famous for. Bernard Kroger, Milton Hershey, James Cash Penney, Louis Braille. And before I can write my introduction, I might have to do some research to find out how this person was a game changer. That's an idiom. How did they change their industry? Take Louis Braille, for example. I'm sure that before he invented the Braille system, there were ways for blind people to read. I believe they involved actual letters being poked up on the paper rather than dots, and that there was a military kind of code of raised dots that they used at night, so they didn't have to have a light. And Louis Braille took this and turned it into something more functional for everybody. And now we have the Braille system. So when I'm writing my introduction, I have to do some preliminary research and find out all this. And so I'm going to talk about how it was before Louis Braille invented the Braille system. Or what were chocolate bars like before Milton Hershey came along? What kind of rides were at the carnival before the Ferris wheel was invented? What about bookstores before Barnes and Noble? What about ice cream shops? What about soap? Before the Lever Brothers, what was soap like? The Lever Brothers kind of revolutionized the industry. That's another way we hear it. Game changer, changing the industry. What did they do? That's what you have to find out. You're not going to write, your thesis wouldn't be just a statement of pure fact. Louis Braille went blind when he was 3 years old and then invented the Braille system. I read one about Baskin-Robbins. Baskin-Robbins is the best ice cream shop because it was founded by 2 brothers. Now, that doesn't make it the best ice cream shop. We have an opinion, it's the best ice cream shop. We have a subject, Baskin-Robbins, but we don't have a good reason. What made Baskin-Robbins so special that now, X number of years later, they're still around? And everybody knows Baskin-Robbins. That's what you've got to find out in order to write your thesis. As you keep submitting them to me, I will look at them and give you input until eventually get something close to being right, if not actually right. You can't be factually inaccurate either. I read one about Lay's potato chips, saying that before Lay's potato chips, potatoes were unseasoned. I don't think that's true. I think people made potato chips and sprinkled them with salt, maybe. I mean, Lay's potato chips, before they had all these weird flavors, were just sliced potatoes with salt. But how did they become the thing? How did they change things? And it probably has to do with kettle Okay, I think back in the days, like go back to New York City, people had their push carts. They had these kettles, and they would boil up some not boil them up, fried potato chips. They'd stick them in a paper bag, and there you go. So what did Henry Lay's do? Was he the first one to mass produce them? And if he wasn't the first, how did he become the potato chip manufacturer? These are the questions that you've got to figure out in order to write your introduction in your thesis paragraph.